now I have kind of a different guest. I decided to talk to someone who's actually in the professional sports world. So I brought in a professional golfer, Dylan Frittelli, who's also a UT alum, Hook 'em Horns, and he won the John Deere Classic in 2019. Dylan, how are you dealing with all this?
Pretty well so far. I really haven't had to change many of my routines. I'm pretty much a hermit crab most of the time. So to the gym back home, that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. I would have added in a little bit of golf if it were middle of the season, but I'm taking it pretty well.
Well, you're also from South Africa, so I have to ask you what's happening there and what's happening with your family?
The president took a decision on Tuesday, I believe, to shut everything down. So I think Thursday morning is the start of their sort of total lockdown situation. But my family's optimistic. They're pretty happy. They seem to be doing okay with it so far. But I'm just hoping the disease or the virus doesn't affect all the masses, the poor people in South Africa, which is obviously a concern for me and obviously most people in South Africa.
Certainly. Is there anything that people in your community are doing right now in order to help those people?
Nothing that I've heard of. I've heard a lot of people say they're super happy with the political situation, which is quite rare for South Africa. They think that the government's acted pretty quickly and they're going to do a good job. So let's just hope that takes place and we won't need private industry to come in and save the day, which is normally the case in South Africa.
Yeah, I bet. Let's take a step back. And I mean, I feel like it was less than 2 weeks ago, things were relatively normal. When did everything change for you? You were actually on tour when things started getting canceled.
Yeah, we were at the Players Championship, the marquee event on the PGA Tour, and I was actually about to go to bed. I was like, oh, I should be in bed already, going to sleep. And I got a text, and I was like, this is weird. It's from one of those like electronic numbers, and opened it. It said, check your email, tournament canceled. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, there's obviously rumblings, and people were thinking about what's going to happen for next week's tournament. But that was a total shock for me. The day before the second round, we were already like halfway through. I guess the first round, a few guys hadn't finished, but it was a big shock. And I guess the next morning we all showed up at the course to clear out our lockers, and rumors were flying and everything. But thankfully the tour got all the info to us and just said, look guys, it's going to be a long layover or a long layoff. Just head home and do whatever you need to be safe. And thankfully they gave us some great information.
And what is the outlook at the moment? Is if there's any?
I mean, I'm optimistic we'll start playing sort of second half of the summer. My guess is June, maybe July at the earliest, but who knows? It just depends how bad the virus is, whether it slows down, increases, and whether the government wants us to go outside again, I guess.
Well, another aspect of it is, I mean, you're a professional athlete. You have to keep your body in peak shape and peak performance. So what are you doing kind of at home in order to do that?
To be honest, I haven't done any home workouts per se. I've done a little bit of prehab, as I call it, just some mobility stuff, stretching, staying loose. But luckily, my trainer's in Austin here as well, and he managed to get some gym equipment before the total frenzy happened. I guess everyone's trying to buy some gym equipment right now, but he's got a full setup there, so I can go in and do some heavy lifting. I've done 2 workouts since he got back in town and feeling a whole lot better. It really lifted my mood having him in town and getting out there and lifting some weight and burning some calories, I guess. So that's my major focus right now. Just stay out of trouble and get in the gym and relax and go see my chiro as well and just try and get as physically fit as I can while I can't actually do the normal deal of working on my golf technique.
Well, you're also friends with other players. Like, what has their response been? What have they said to you? Do you talk to them often?
I haven't really chatted to other guys, to be honest, but I can see it going two ways. In my mind, there'll be two personalities. The one type that'll be super focused and try and use this as an opportunity to project yourself to a better performance or a better place. And then there'll be others that'll just sit at home and I guess have a few extra drinks and dessert and cookies and stuff and come back a few pounds heavier and maybe a little less proficient at their game. But no, I mean, I look at it as a great opportunity just to clear my head and just loosen up and chill and relax and get some work done as well. It's not like a crazy time to be super focused, but it is an opportunity.
What is your focus, would you say, right now, especially with the unknown kind of looming? What do you kind of hone in on every day and be like, this is what I'm going to do today. This is my long-term goal.
It's tough for me. It's take care of stuff at home. First thing I did was just clear out my closet, clear out everything, like throw some things away, organize stuff, and make sure that I'm happy in the place that I'm in and comfortable. Because if you're at home 24/7 and you're not sort of happy where you are, you're seeing things like, oh, I really need to do that, I really need to do that. That's going to build a whole bunch of stress. So I cleared out everything in my house, made sure I was super happy and comfortable here. And then from there, it's just what can I do? Okay, I can go to the gym and I can train and I can control my diet as well. So focusing heavily on that too, cooking some healthy meals, learning to cook some new meals. I actually just bought an air fryer, so I've got a few things going on here, just trying to work on the diet as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I can focus on right now. And then also I've got a few books that I've ordered, so try and catch up on reading that I really want to do and studying a few topics that I'm interested in.
Well, this is something I recently learned about you, though. You're kind of a Lego fanatic, and have you been doing some builds?
Haven't done any yet, to be honest. I've used them as sort of dangling the carrot out in front of me to force me to go work out and take care of everything else. But I have a couple sets ready for me to start building. I've actually got a Mustang. I've got it here. I've got a Mustang
Let me
car
see.
that I need to get going.
That's huge. How big is that
Yeah,
thing?
this is 35 centimeters long, so it's pretty large. That'll take me between, if I do well, probably 8 hours of building time. I managed to do this during the off season last year. It's a sweet little VW bug.
Oh, that's
This guy was super intricate though. It's got some cool little features and there's tons of fun things on the
on the
inside.
inside.
You got a bed, you've got kitchen faucet, you got all kinds of functional things. This took me, my best guess was about 12 hours. So it's a good time waster if you're looking for something to do and keep you busy.
I feel like I have so many more questions. One of them being, when did you realize that you had this love of like creating things with Lego?
I always had it as a kid. My mother bought me I think the first 5 years old, probably the first time I had something from Lego, and I just loved it. Every time we'd come over to the States, we'd do it every 2 or 3 years. I would just stock up. It was so much cheaper over here. And then I eventually had enough to where I'd break everything down and just build my own things. I would build spaceships and fire trucks and all kinds of random things when I was at home in South Africa, and then kind of got away from it. Obviously, you grow up and you're like, oh, that's kind of kiddies play. And then I thought, hang on, I might as well get back into it if I love it that much. And we're playing a tournament in Connecticut, which is Lego's, I guess, US headquarters. And we got a private tour of the facility there. Got to go in the employee store, and I bought probably 8 or 9 different sets. I've got 5 in my closet right now for my nephew, which I'm hoping to take back to South Africa, but I may end up breaking into those if this quarantine lasts a bit longer.
No kidding. Have you been to Legoland here in California by chance?
No, never. I've heard the Legolands they've built are kind of based around kids and fun little areas for them to have fun. I'm more of a serious Lego builder, I guess, a connoisseur, if you want to
Much
say
more
something like
serious.
that.
Yeah. No,
Yes, more sophisticated.
it's definitely for kids, but I think it's like for every adult you should go once because they have some really big, incredible builds. Are you a Lego movie fan? Because I am.
Yes, I haven't watched them in a while. I watched the first two, the Batman one as well, but I've been stuck on that TV show now. What is it called? Lego Masters. That's been like I've been waiting every week for it to come out because I'm learning so much about how they build those things, and it's just awesome to see people be super creative with something that most people think is just a child's toy. I think if people watch that show, they'll realize, wow, this is actually more of an engineering or a creative profession than it is just a kid's toy.
They should do a celebrity version of that show and have you on there so you could show off your man.
Oh, that would be amazing. You need to speak to the producers and get them on that angle for season 2.
I'll call. Let me write that down. Call producer. That's next. And I didn't know this, but you have a saxophone. You mentioned you can't play a lot on it, but you have it.
Yeah, I have a saxophone. A lot of people confuse that for Dylan play saxophone, but I played it as a kid. I could play a few songs when I was 12 or 13 years old, and then didn't touch it until I bought this current one, which I had last summer, and took a bit of time. I taught myself how to play "Oh, when the Saints," and since then, that's like November last year. I haven't touched it since then, but I guess this is another excuse now to get back into it. I really need to do the proper way of learning an instrument, have a teacher and learn the scales and read music again, but I'm just too lazy to go through all that hard work.
Maybe you'll have a little more time now.
Yeah, I do have the time. It's just whether I have the desire to do it, I guess. But no, I'll get back into it. I need to sort of go down that route and enhance that part of my brain too.
The other thing I didn't ask you, you're in Austin, Texas. What are things like in Texas right now? I'm in California. We're obviously in a pretty intense lockdown. Is it pretty intense there too?
So as I said, I don't go out too much. I mean, I've been to the store to get some food and to the gym to train, but I haven't noticed too much slowing down. Tons more people walking around in the neighborhood that I have seen. So people just trying to get out and get some sun and a little bit of exercise. But the roads are pretty busy today. When I drove out, it was our first day of, I guess, full lockdown. But there were lots of people on the roads, pretty normal for midday, I guess. But yeah, I think it's really just the businesses that are being affected right now, which is pretty sad. I know a lot of friends that are losing jobs and things are changing for them. But beyond that, I don't think too much will change on a day-to-day basis. Hopefully some of those businesses can transition to doing stuff online and they won't have to cut too many people, but lots of people walking around. Obviously, if you go down to Town Lake and the cool, like social parts of Austin, that's all shut down. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm sure the bars and
Yeah.
nightclubs and the open areas down by the lake have definitely slowed down.
I had another question and it just escaped me for you. Oh my God. Anyway, is there anything else that you want to add or say or talk about that I didn't think to ask you about, but we have the opportunity to chat now?
The books that I'm reading, I don't know. That's the only thing that I
Yeah,
would
no,
add.
here, let me ask you that
Yeah.
actually. Tell me a little bit about the books that you're reading right now, passing the time.
So I went on Amazon last week and ordered a few. I had them on my list and I just hadn't pulled the trigger, but I'm not much of a fiction guy. So most of my books are well, sorry, I am fiction guy. Non-fiction is not really my deal, but yeah, I've got four that I ordered here and they're all sort of performance based. So I'll hold them up to the camera. You guys can see them. I don't want to mention them all, but
Legacy, Why We Sleep, Grit. Wait, what's the bottom?
yeah. The bottom one is Finite and Infinite Games by James Carse. But these are all just fun little things that I use to keep my mind going and try and learn a thing or two about performance, something that may help me. So the sleep book, because that's something that I've really delved into to try and optimize my sleep. I think that's one of the final frontiers for athletes to figure out. And then the other three are basically just fun little mental games. Grit, I've heard, is a fun one. Angela Duckworth wrote it, and it's just about, I guess, performance and getting through certain boundaries and frontiers and pushing yourself. This one, I'm not too sure. Finite, Infinite Games, I'm really not sure. I heard it on a podcast, and it basically just defines two different games that have no end and games that have ends or have objectives. So I'm really interested in this one because golf is kind of, in my mind, an infinite game. Like, it doesn't really end. You're always trying to perfect it, but you never will. Like, no one's going to make a hole in one on all 18 holes. It's just not possible. So it's the fun way to kind of wrap my head around what I'm doing and maybe other aspects of my life that do have sort of a goal line. And then this one's a cool one. It's a book based on the philosophy of the All Black rugby team. So I'm hoping to pick up again a few little, I've heard it's a really good book. One of my Navy SEAL friends mentioned it and said I should read it. So hopefully I gain a few little tips and tricks from the All Blacks. They're probably the most successful sports team in the last 20 years for sure.
If people want to keep up with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you, keep up with you?
So I'm on social media. Instagram's the place that I'm most active. I have Twitter as well. Facebook is there as well, but I'm super interactive on Instagram. I like to keep it fun, lighthearted, and show more of the behind the scenes look into a golf life. Most guys are just like, here's my swing, cool, looking good today. Like I shy away from that and rather take you inside and show you the locker room or the gym or what I'm doing outside of golf. So I tend to give a different perspective from your main top 10 or top 50 guys who are just sort of celeb status showing cool things. But yeah, no, I like to be engaged there, and hopefully the fans engage with me. I often respond to people, whether it's in comments or direct messages. So I'm always up to chatting to new people and keeping them interested in the game.
Well, Dylan, I appreciate you connecting with me during this hard time, sharing some perspective. Hook 'em horns, of course, and maybe I'll see you in Austin soon.
Yeah, hopefully this all brushes over pretty soon and everyone can go back to their daily lives. Thanks for having me, Tabitha.